Welcome to O.P.O.P, the podcast, Operation Protect Our Peace.
I'm Stacey.
I'm Sarah.
Tune into O.P.O.P as we expose all the hard stuff to get to the sweet stuff.
You'll get the truth, plot twists, and the pivots you need to protect your peace.
Life hits hard,
but with God, O.P.O.P hits harder.
Hey, Joy Stealers.
We're coming for you. Hello. Welcome to O.P.O.P, the podcast, Operation Protect Our Peace. And today I have the honor of introducing one of my best friends and one of my most favorite humans, Stacey. And she's going to share part 1 of her life story. So buckle up. You're in for a ride.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Okay, I am so excited to share today. And I really want to be clear about a few things. So we're doing our stories in parts. So today, my part 1 is really a setup. So there's really clear understanding of the why behind it, why we're doing this, why share all of this. So my why is living life to the fullest. Let's start with that. Despite all of life's shenanigans, a big part of that is O.P.O.P, living life to the fullest, which is Operation Protect Our Peace. And I really want to encourage all of our listeners that despite the baggage that you're about to hear, that you really focus with me on that you might be able to relate to some of the pieces that I share, and truly that if we focus on the growth more than the grief, and we focus on the lessons much more than the loss, that's really a good start of why I'm sharing all of this. Next, the world and certain people will tell you often, or let me just make it mine, told me to not speak up, to blatantly shut up about all of this. And it's too heavy for me, it's too uncomfortable for me, or something along those lines that maybe you have heard as well. But that's precisely why I cannot do that. I cannot not speak up. And typically when you have such opposition to tell you, stop talking, don't speak up, it's to try and stop you because there's something good behind it. There's something powerful behind it that people need. And I surely believe that I did not go through all of this for nothing. And I know and feel that my life is a miracle, but I want others to believe that their stories and their overcomings, no matter how many difficulties or things that felt like failures, were really experiences that brought you to a step closer to your purpose. So I want to be a general curse breaker. I don't want to participate in lifelong unhealthy habits, whether intentionally or unintentionally, because now I'm much more aware. And so I feel like I have a purpose, I have a message, I have something powerful to help others realize, actually, that isn't healthy anymore. And now I'm aware of it, and I can no longer say, I didn't know. I do know. And I'm here to encourage our listeners and anyone who is struggling to tune in to start listening to my story. So it's very important for me to start this way because one of the circumstances that I'll share in a few minutes is very sensitive. All of them are, but you'll understand more when I get there that there is a family circumstance with one of the really tough hardships that I went through that this applies to. So I really want to share what my story is and what it isn't. So what it isn't, number one, it is not man bashing. What it is bringing awareness to what is healthy and what isn't. What it is not meant to create division. It is meant to bring truth and honesty to the forefront with the ability of unconditional love despite agreeing to disagree. That's a big one. And these are all things that lead us to be able to talk deeper in episodes. But also what it is not meant to be accusatory or disrespectful. What it is, it's meant to bring understanding and the difference between kindness versus standing up for yourself, and being taken advantage of versus protecting yourself and protecting your peace. And what it is, it's not focusing that I think I'm always right, or telling my story to say, agree with me, feel bad for me, or, think what I think. It's what it is that when you put yourself truly in someone else's shoes, your perspective often softens, which I could also have just said 2 words: grace and purpose. It leads you closer to grace and purpose. That's what it is. What it isn't is self-righteous. I'm not trying to make this all about me. I am sharing my story, which is difficult to do and it takes courage to do, so that listeners can understand that hard conversations are healthy and they don't mean that the relationship is unhealthy. It's actually quite the opposite. It's very ironic. So more about the why on that, but I really needed to be clear on why I'm doing this. So I will get into my story. So I grew up in a fabulous family. I have amazing parents, and to this day, they were awesome all growing up. They're still awesome. They have been married 50 years. Next year will be 50. This was 49 in May. And so I am blessed to have solid family, solid siblings growing up, extended family, my mom's side and my dad's side. I felt like I got the biggest blessing to witness really what God's character looks like. So as a kid, I felt so blessed to have a firm foundation. And it wasn't, yes, we were in church, Zine and Naz, shout out. And yes, we had caravan on Wednesday nights, and we had Sunday morning, and we had Sunday night. But we also had a great balance. It wasn't forced. It was, first of all, my best friends were there. I was so blessed to have met my best friends there growing up. And to this day, some of them are still my best friends. And it's amazing to have that. And I know that's not everyone's experience, but that was mine. And I had awesome pastors. I only had 2 my whole upbringing. So one from the time I was really little to a teenager, and then another one from teenager through, college and getting married. So that was incredible. And not only that, but outside of church, we were great friends with that family. And they, his ministry changed my life. Learning so much about my faith growing. And then I had an awesome youth group too. I had awesome youth leaders, which I'm still close to this day. One in particular is one of those best friends, which is remarkable. But my family, I feel, showed me, they made me believe God's promises because they lived it, meaning they would teach it, but they also were so full of joy, laughter, humor, family time, funny, just hilarious, lake life, family, outdoor, family meals, but nothing super harsh. Like you have to, or you better be there, or you get up and go. I couldn't wait to go because it was fun. And my dad is an amazing singer. He was always singing on the praise team and doing solos at church. I loved hearing him sing. So I couldn't wait for that. I couldn't wait to see my friends. I loved our pastors. And so I am really blessed. Like a lot of people do not get that experience, but I did. And I had no idea how much I was going to need that firm foundation. And the other thing that I love about what my parents did was they showed me, hey, all summer we go to Grandma and Grandpa's at the lake. And so we miss church all the time in the summer, which some people were judgy about. I didn't realize that until getting older. But, I don't know what else God would love more than a devotion on the water with your family and blaring worship music while tubing behind the boat. I mean, this was my upbringing. We had that. My mom stayed home with us, but then she was a hard worker always. She chose to do that. She could have done anything. She chose to sacrifice and be with us, and then would kill it with cleaning houses. And then my dad has owned his own business my whole life, a successful paint contracting business. And I believe he started it the year I was born. I'm 44. So it's pretty cool. He's still running it today. And so he is a super hard worker. And that's one of the things that was instilled in me at a young age too. We have what we have because they worked for it. And it was kind of an unspoken that we knew there wasn't just millions to go around, but we had a lot more than most people in the world, and they worked their butts off for it. And so it was an unspoken, we had such respect for them, and they instilled such a work ethic. They and my extended aunts and uncles, my grandparents, they all really exuded the love of God. So as a kid, I really just took it on, and I said, I'm going to believe it. And also I latched on to keeping childlike faith. And that became one of my strengths in life, to actually have great faith. And there's a big difference between childish and childlike, that the Bible says we should all have childlike faith, no matter what age we are. And so there's some things in life that I recognize that I took on, and I never looked back from it. I'm not saying I understand every single thing, or there's not certain things that are a mystery and that we won't know until we get to heaven. Yes, of course, we all have those things like, why did this happen? Or why did that happen? And why is this in the Bible? And it's a growing long-term journey, but I really took that one on to heart. And when I was 8, even though I grew up in church my whole life, when I was 8, I remember specifically walking in our backyard, which is still the home my parents live in now, and just talking and walking in my backyard in the grass and saying, God, I've heard about being saved my whole life. And I kind of thought that because I have been in church my whole life that I think I'm saved. But come to think of it, I don't think I ever I asked for you to be in my life. And I asked that, yes, I want to know you my whole life. I want you in my heart. Please forgive me of my sins. And I want to know you deeper. And so at age 8, in the backyard, just chilling, walking by myself. It's still one of my happy places on earth, my parents' backyard. I did that, and I just had this beautiful moment by myself, just saying, will you come into my heart? And also, I remember age 8 being like my favorite time in my life. I was always this happy, vibrant kid. And it chokes me up because I always loved being a kid. I knew what I had. Like as a kid, how many kids do you know that say, I just want to stay a kid. I don't want to grow up. I just want to stay a kid. That was me. And my mom will tell you that I would say that to her, like, I love being a kid. I love everything. I love life. I love adventure. I love all the small things. I even looked at life at a very positive perspective from a young age. And it's so cool how God knew I needed that firm foundation, because later I was really going to need it. And I was really going to have to lean in and remember that girl. Because life as an adult kicked me in the teeth in my early 20s. But leading up to that, I had a great, easy, I will say that. You can't beat it. I mean, I often think about this, how much difficult life is for people that weren't born here. I just lucked out. I got put on this earth in the United States, and that road alone is so much blessed and easier than a lot of people. So I always thought about the gratitude that I had in my life for, at a young age, And I've applied that. I've always kept journals, diaries. I always wanted to remember my thoughts. I always wanted to be happy and grateful. And that really never left me. And so I am so grateful to that. And that's the power of when people say it takes an army or it takes a village. Man, thank you to everyone who poured into me, because it brought me through later. And this right here, that's why we're speaking up. That's why we're doing this, because I don't want anyone ever to sit and think no one was in my corner. No one had my back.
Oh, hello, cell phone.
No one. Thank you for the laughter. I don't want anyone to say that ever. So yes, it's vulnerable and brave and courageous to have to do this now, because honestly, my life was so beautiful. All growing up, had amazing youth. The hardest thing I went through as a kid was age 5th grade, which what are you then? 11, 12?
10.
10. So 10 to 13. Okay. So 5th to 7th or 8th grade, I had a chubby stage as a kid. My brother and sister never had that, just me. So that's a tough age to have that be your thing, because kids are mean, and that was my first bout with like, oh, I feel some insecurities in my life. And it was just, I hadn't hit puberty, but as a kid, you don't know that. And you don't understand, how come I'm not doing anything different? I was always athletic. I was always on the go, always doing the same things. And yes, of course, we were allowed to have junk and candy and fast food sometimes, but we also had great meals too, and healthy food and balanced food. So without doing anything different than my siblings, I was the one, that was my lot. I got to have a chubby stage. But what I look back now and see is, wow, that was the first tough season. And God would use that later in my profession as a trainer and Pilates instructor now for 25 years. But not only that, having a business where I care for people, I help them be their healthiest version, not just physically, in many ways. And that he would use that as a child to teach me great compassion. It taught me, oh, wow, okay, I didn't feel my best then. And now I'm realizing I want to feel my best. And that doesn't mean perfection in looks. It means, where do I feel good? And then it was interesting because 9th grade rolls around. I hit puberty, which was late, for a girl. But I just shot up, stretched out to the height I am today. And then I was more on the skinny side. And then you get the opposite. By the way, another thing my parents did amazing, when I did have that phase, I don't know if they put the fear of God in my siblings or siblings' friends to not say a peep about that. Nobody ever made fun of me or said, oh, you're fat or you're this, you're that. No one. And I felt protected. And I said, did you threaten them? If they said anything ever, and she always would just say, you're just short. You're just short. And I would say, nuh-uh, I have all these rolls. Look. And I would only vent to her. I would never show that to anyone else. But I would vent to her and I would say, I have all these rolls and they hang over my pants. And then my hair's always the same. And now she laughs. She goes, yeah, I would always pray and say, God, you take care of this, because I encourage her every day that it's not that. You're beautiful. You're healthy. And her and my dad especially would just constantly build me up. Aww. You are, not in a weird way, but I just believed them. Again, the power of the tone that is set in your life. And it worked. So I believed that. And even though I personally felt some insecurities with that, they nailed it with setting the tone for me of what I speak over they spoke over my life, and I believed it. And it worked. It helped me through that hard time. But then you have the opposite. Ninth grade hits, I shoot up, and then I had people saying, like, accusing me of I had a volleyball coach say, I hope you're not doing something stupid. And I'm going, what do you mean? I was clueless. And he was insinuating that I was anorexic. And that hurt my feelings so much because I thought, wow, you just can't get it right in this world. You know, some people think you're too chubby. Some people think you're too skinny. And who cares? What do I think about myself? How am I built? What is my best? So I started then realizing if you go with people as opposed to what God says you are and who his word says you are, you will flounder because it is opinion city in the world. And it's all these shoulds, which I'll get back to later because shoulds are killing us. It's you should do this. You shouldn't do that. You should say this. You shouldn't say that. You should not get married. Oh, you should get married. You should stay married. You should not get divorced. You should not have kids. You're too old to have kids. You should not have that dream. You should not go after that. And if you listen to people opposed to praying about what God's purpose is for your life, you will miss it. And it will send you on a long journey sometimes because it can really throw you off. So that is a reminder to speak life to others and to speak life over yourself because sometimes you got to build yourself up. And that is when I realized life kicked me in the teeth, which you'll hear a lot more in parts 2 and 3 with the next part of my life. Perfect. Just checking the time. I can't wait to share those pieces, even though they're very difficult, because this foundation is everything. And a couple things that I want to share. I'm going to read a poem I wrote called Should. You should. But if you don't fight for your peace, you live in dysfunction. And there is no way you can be your absolute best for anyone if you don't fight for your peace, which is why we're here for O.P.O.P. And really the word peace is interchangeable. Fill it with Operation Protect your health, joy, love, light, purpose, truth, your dreams. This is all of those. As you protect your peace, you're really protecting all of these things, these good things that God has for you. Back to your verse, life verse, the good things I have for you. 10:10 living and living life to the fullest is not just a motto. It is a Bible verse. It's John 10:10. That is where it came from. And that is what God has been speaking to me on for years and years and years, saying, this is your purpose. It's to remind people of my promise that even though the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy, and I've experienced all of that in those efforts of his, I, God, have come that you may have life and life to the fullest. So you fill in the blank. Operation Protect Our Peace is the word we used. Fill it in of what you need, you know? So today, as I share my story and start sharing my story, these are the things that I hope that you take. And one of the things that I learned in Al-Anon for part 2 and 3 of why I participated in Al-Anon.
Would you mind sharing what Al-Anon is for those who don't know?
Al-Anon is the program when you are involved with an alcoholic. Al-Anon is for the loved ones of an alcoholic. It can be a friend or family. And so I want to start with this. The trauma, even though you may be functioning with so the trauma, even though you may be functioning, over time, it will manifest in your life somehow, some way. Oftentimes it's your body. And so it's really the inside, which does circle back fully with God gave us our soul, our heart. He made us all unique in his image. He gave us this beautiful uniqueness that we really need to embrace. And also, if we don't start dealing with these things, they will steal. kill, and destroy. It's just a matter of how and when. It's not a matter of if, it's how and when. If we don't keep the things aligned and balanced. Or worse off, you become apathetic, which is a lack of interest, enthusiasm, or concern. And the trouble with not caring is that it makes you not care about the good too. And you spoke about that in your story. And for a time, I did the same thing. But the problem with that is that it takes you to a dangerous place because you start not looking like yourself. You start, if you're numb and not caring, you start making decisions that are not what you even agree with. You start doing things and not caring about the outcome necessarily, or the pain it's causing you, or the layer that now you're going to have to deal with that later. Yeah. It just added another layer. And those types of things. And that's really why I'm speaking up, because this kind of thing can wreck people, and we need to help others know that there's support for them and there's ultimately love for them. Yeah. And that we want to be a safe place. Even though we don't know our listeners personally, all of them, we want to be a safe place where people can feel that, yeah, maybe you go find somebody to tell because you heard us. Maybe you go find a counselor that is trained in the areas you need, that is a safe place for you because you heard us. And that makes us relate to and connect no matter where we are in the world. And, a lot of times people don't like to talk about uncomfortable stuff, but it's happening regardless. So we either let it happen and let people keep deteriorating, including ourselves, or we don't. That's what we're doing here. And here's a big thought I had today. Just because people aren't healthy enough yet or willing to be honest does not mean that we should not be honest. And sometimes that's where it gets shut down. And also, just because people are not willing or able to hear the truth doesn't mean that we should not speak the truth. So these are things that especially part 2, I'm going to jump right into how I landed in how my first marriage. And I would rather have a season of hard with the truth than a season of hard without it. You just choose your hard because they're both hard. And here's one of the best quotes that I heard today is a song called Song for My Children by Kristen DeMarco. It says, "Don't leave potential unfulfilled. Don't be afraid to let it go. Get it all out. Have it settled and done before the sun gets low. To everything there is a season, and our days are few. So plant the seeds in your pocket, even if they are not for you. Some gardens we just make for others." And to me, I go back to seed, sow, time, work, harvest. All these seeds, the Bible says, plant all the seeds I give you, because you don't know if one or all of them will grow. So our hope is that even one would be impacted from this podcast, but what if a bunch could be impacted? And so I'll end on this. The poem, "You Should." Isn't it crazy what some people say? What's even crazier is they think you should obey. You got divorced? You should never again get married. But you dream of a healthy marriage? Too bad, that dream should be buried. You want to have a child? You shouldn't. You're too old. Give up on what you really want. Just do what you're told. That way, everyone else but you will be happy. Because all the shoulders think they're right. But allow me to stop that should right now and direct you back to the light. You know what we should do? Love others where they are. We should stop assuming we know the best and be the ones to raise the bar. Unless you've walked any steps exactly in that person's shoes, then you have exactly zero ground to dictate or judge what they choose. You know what I've found? That judgy people hate being called out. It's the last thing they want to be known for, yet they say that's not what they're about. Usually, that means that's exactly how they are. The truth hits very near, yet honestly, it's very far. The point is, we all need to check in. Are we being loving or bringing others down? Are we helping to encourage and anchor others, or are you making them drown? For those of you who have been beat down, allow me to put a stop to that and fill your cup. You pick your head up and smile. This is where you end those beliefs and rise up. I think that's a good place to stop. Part 1.
I think so too. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
I forget how we end our podcast.
I'll take us out. This is part 1 of Stacey's story. This is O.P.O.P, the podcast, Operation Protect Our Peace. I'm Stacey.
And I'm Sarah.
And no. Hey, Joy Stealers.
We're coming for you.